Other interesting political news, you have the UAW deal to cost General Motors $9.3 billion and consumers $575 per vehicle. Lovely news for the consumers. Oh, wait, no, that's the opposite. Interesting. So, wait a minute. Other competitors are making a more affordable product at a lower price point. I wonder what the future will bring. We'll see. Now, joking aside, or, well, I don't know how much of a joke that is, really. Now, specifically, they said this strike, let's see here. This is thanks to Reuters. They said, quote, General Motors said last Wednesday its new labor deal after a lengthy U.S. strike will cost it $9.3 billion. Now, the buyback, I also know the stock buyback, which actually does add value to the shareholders and the people who actually invest in the company as well. But they also lowered their 2023 profit expectations after the UAW strike. Let's see here. So specifically, this is covering the contract. So the $9.3 billion in additional costs through 2028 for its agreement with the UAW and Canadian union Unit 4 translates to about $575 per vehicle over the life of the deal. GM's new guidance reduced expected net income attributable to shareholders for 2023 to a range of $9.1 billion to $9.7 billion compared to the previous outlook of $9.3 billion to $10.7 billion. This includes the estimated $1.1 billion earnings before interest tax adjusted impact from the UAW strike, which lasted just over 6 weeks, primarily from lost production. The total impact in 2023 is $1.3 billion, including the higher wages and benefits deal. When asked for comment, Mary Barrow says, quote, now that we have ratified the contract and a clear path forward that includes greater operating investment efficiencies, we can resume returning capital to shareholders per our plan, unquote. Hopefully those efficiencies include a plan for a exponential increase in the use of robotic technologies for the assembly and, actually making the vehicles. It's one of those instances where, again, Tesla has a huge leap in balance in that regards as well. It's going to be fascinating to see if GM can actually beat them or not. The reason when I talk about the UAW, I usually keep them in the politics part of the podcast, is because UAW is one of the largest political contributors when it comes to presidential elections, there's a lot of elections they get involved with, and they helped get certain people get elected, which hilariously and ironically, they complained about hyperinflation, the union being, they complained about inflation and making less money. The people you voted for helped cause inflation, and by the way, they're outlawing the vehicles you produce. So the most profitable vehicles that are manufactured by the big three being Ford, GM, and Stellantis, are internal combustion engines. GM may not have invented the V8, but they sure as heck perfected it in many regards, especially when it's mounted, they should all be default mounted and coupled with a manual transmission, also known as having 3 pedals. A stick shift is the best experience bar none, but the U.S. government is actually making those products illegal with de facto bans thanks to tailpipe emission standards being ridiculously high and increasing those standards so much so that the only way these companies can meet these fleet averages is by offsetting with EV productions, which are less profitable, especially in the short term for these companies, which means less bonuses for the employees, less profit for the shareholders. It's not great news. So that's why, long story short, that's always part of the political part of the politics, because there's so much political influence. They also endorse, presidential nominees and candidates, and the unions vote heavily. They execute voting plans very efficiently in terms of they get the vote out quite a bit, which is ironic that they cause their own problems, but nevertheless, they do vote. Now, they also know that they are going to cut costs at Cruise, which suspended which is their AI driving or driverless vehicle, and that even though they had a lot of crashes and losses with that one. And Mary Barrow, as I said, she was disappointed by EV production this year due to difficulties with battery module assembly. So it'll be interesting to see this huge cost, $9.3 billion. And again, at a time where people can barely afford vehicles, imagine having another $575 stuck on top. That you're paying for all that. That's a pretty penny to say the least. So it'll be interesting to see how this affects consumers if they start to move away from the big 3 products, or if they don't care that it costs that much more to assemble all of these vehicles. As I always say, time shall tell. Thank you everyone again for taking the time to tune in today. Please take the time to subscribe. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of December, and your support is greatly appreciated. Also, leaving comments is a great way to leave me some feedback on how I can make the show better and better and improve the quality. Also, and lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, Tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.